The purpose of this video is to demonstrate the workflow of setting up a GitHub repository using the new Git API window, which massively simplifies things in terms of authenticating between local and cloud GitHub repository compared to the old way. It was so complicated to do that, I basically stopped doing it in class just because I had to sit and help everybody individually, and it just took too much time. But here with the GH client, all we need is the personal authentication token. If you don't have that, the instructions are in the lab. We did it last week. If you didn't do it, it takes 4 minutes. Go and do it. And we're now going to go through the workflow of building a simple CI/CD pipeline. So we're going to make a summary of our steps, some simple recipes here. Goal is your starting point is you have a code base. If you don't have a code base, well, this is not really a programming course. Just go and get some text files or something to play with. But we got to start with having a code base. Now our goal or our need is to get our code base into a CI/CD GitHub environment. And that actually has a lot of meanings beyond what we're getting to here. But for the simple starter point is we can set up Git Actions. What we're not going to have time to do in this course would be Git Issues. That's more of a project management thing. It's in my book, which I see some of you are downloading. I can tell from my download analytics, so I talk about that there. But for right now, our steps, number one, create a GitHub repository. Let's go and do that. So there's the bear, that's me. We're going to go now to plus, create new, and we're going to say create new repository. Now my suggestion, unless you have a much more memory capacity than me, maybe it's just me, I can never remember these things, so I always write it down. And I always come up with something that's meaningful around date and time because, you know, I might have several of them in one day, and then next week I have to go back and find what I was doing. So I'll go by the date in this case. Friday, no, already in December. How about that? December 6th. Good enough. And you can make it private if you want. I suggest you don't right now because that's going to make it more complex in terms of your authenticating with your local. But if it was some important information, let's say if you're a company with some secret proprietary code you don't want people to steal, although more and more now, because GitHub had a number of security exposures last year, so that's why they did the whole PAT thing. But a lot of companies are creating their own GitHub server in-house. It's open source. I'm sure some of you, you know, in your first job that they might assign you to work on setting that up or maintaining it. But for right now, keep it public. Let's say add a README file. Very important to add a README file because I want this to be part of your project submission documentation, so you could put your team member's name. Well, actually, no, because that's going to be public. That we don't want that. I don't know. It's privacy and all that stuff. So what you're going to do is make a text file, and that text file is going to be uploaded to the Moodle assignment page. And that text file is going to contain your team name, which you're going to save the file as, and student name, student IDs, and your URL for your NPM publish of your project. And each team member, John, Mary, Susan, Steve, whatever, is going to put their LinkedIn blog URLs, which is ultimate. That's what I'm going to test your project on. Your assignment 4, I'm going to test because I'm going to look at your URL for NPM publish, and I'm going to see what you did. So your README, you can just describe in general terms what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you did it. Don't put any personal information there because it's out there in the public, so just don't do that. But just give some general description. And license, just keep it as MIT. I'm not going to go into the various differences between licensing. Suffice it to say, MIT makes you look cool, so just go with that. And that's pretty good. So let's carry on now. Now, I'm going to record this because I don't trust myself to remember it. I'm sure you're much smarter and have better memories than me, but by the way, you should watch Bill Gates. Very funny. You don't think he's funny to look at him, but go on YouTube and search for Bill Gates went to address to deliver the graduation talk to his high school, which he graduated from. I was like splitting up laughing. He said, basically, he was saying, I know you kids think you're young and cool and your parents are old and stupid. Guess what? They got that way putting up with you. So, yeah, anyway, I got this way putting up with my own kids, which are very much like you. So I'm going to go and record this. What's my next step? Probably put some code in it. I need something, maybe at least the README. So just, now in your case, for your real assignment foreign project, it should really be your real code, which you made in assignment 1. I'm just going to make a couple of text files now to keep things moving along here. So commit, or just put some files into the cloud GitHub repo. I'm emphasizing that because later I'm going to say local repo or cloud or GitHub repo. So let's do that. Whoever's listening to the radio, use earphones or turn it off, please. Now, a simple way here, I'm going to go and edit my README file. And README uses a markdown format called Markdown. It's pretty simple. Just basically uses hashtags. It's like a very simplified form of HTML. So single hashtag is the biggest. Oh, here I have to click on the pencil to say edit. Again, don't put your own information. I'm just putting it here because nobody cares about me. But ladies especially, be careful with your personal information out there. There's a lot of weirdies running around. So I'll just say this. This is to demonstrate the process of git pull and git push. So where we're going with this, we're going to make some files here, and then we're going to set up. We're going to use the fabulous GH client. The way I talk about it, a student told me in class the other day, said, Peter, do you sell these GitHub client on commission? You talk about it with so much excitement. I was like, no, I put up with the miserable pain of the old way of doing it, so that's enough. So set up the new GitHub client and make local premises clone of cloud repo. And then we're going to change some files locally. Now, the way you would do this in practice, your directory, which is your local Git repo clone, it's a directory in your file system. You would open Visual Studio Code, and you would make that directory to be your Visual Studio Code project. And in that way, whatever you do in Visual Studio Code automatically gets synced and replicated. You don't have to do it. Well, yeah, you do have to go to the command line and say git pull, git push, but you don't really have to do too much extra work. Now, I know that all of these IDEs like Eclipse and Visual Studio Code and Android Studio, I know you can put in the credentials for your GitHub repository. So if I'm working in Android doing a Kotlin project, for example, I could sync it up through Android. Honestly, if you can get that to work, you're better than me, because I can't and I don't bother. I just make the directory where my IDE is working, I make that to be a Git directory, then I just go to the command line. Then I get all the extended benefits of the Git CLI commands. Status, log, there's a bunch of them, right? So I'll show you that a little bit in a minute. So make some files in cloud. Set up your GitHub client in a local directory which you're working with. Change some files in local repository directory. And then do git push, which I should have added one thing, which is clone the repository down to local. Clone your cloud repo to local. I get the feel. Oh yeah, so obviously you have to, at the command line, you have to make so in your command window at your command line you do auth. I think it's login auth or auth login. It's one of the, anyway, it's one of those. You do auth and then you present your pat. And then you do clone. Oh, yeah, clone. Now to do this, you get the. How does anybody remember how we did that last week? We got the. We went to clone, and we got the URL, and then we just pasted the URL in a command line. So we get the clone URL from GitHub Cloud. And then we set up, if it's not already done, we set up and install GitHub client. And then we do GitHub clone, provide the URL, change some files in local. We do git push and observe the changes now available in the cloud, cloud repo. And then you can make changes on cloud. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then also change cloud files in cloud. And then once again do git sync to observe the git sync or git pull. And observe changes now available locally. Changes available locally. Whoever's playing the radio, please, can you just use earphones so we don't have to hear it? Unless it's outside. If it's in here, just please be quiet. C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Next, set up a Git action. And how do we do that? We'll see by making a YAML file locally and then replicating it up. And that'll get it up there. That's all you have to do. And then do a git commit from local. Git sync. And that gets pushed up to the cloud now. And then you will observe. And here's for your assignment 4. You're now going to provide some screenshots illustrating, showing me that you got it working. I mean, a better thing to do would be a video, but that's a little bit, if you know how to make a video, do it. I'm out of time to teach that to you. But some screenshots are good enough. So you're going to, so for assignment 4, it's enough to just provide me with screenshots and all of your other supporting workflow that you did to make that happen. All right, I should have actually been putting this in our lab document, so I'm going to copy and paste it over. But I showed you a little bit of Markdown as well, so I guess that's cool. All right, so now look here. Now I'm going to say commit. Now to understand this, you need to have a little mental visualization, which I will now provide. So this is Lucid, I don't know what, lucid.com or something. Just search for Lucid Drawing Tool. You can use it for free, so it might not be a bad, thing in terms of you want to give some illustrations for your project. It's also Figma.
I actually had found a very good
What's it called?
For Git on LinkedIn.
Sorry, say that again?
I had found a very good workflow for Git, and I think other might understand it through it.
You don't happen to know where it is, do you?
It's uploaded by Roger.
Email it to me during the break. I'll get it and share it with the rest of the class. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's great. Very cool. Now, but basically, so I'm sure what he did is thousands of times better, and you're all going to go and study it, including me, because we're always learning more. But I will give you Peter's simplified view of the world here. So Git exists locally as files in a directory on your hard drive, on your file system. So initially, when you first set it up, you have what are files which are called unstaged, which are not yet under Git control. And then with your Git client, you do a command git add, and that now moves the file into another section. Now, these are not really separate directories. Git uses, and maybe when I read this Roger stuff, he might explain this better, but basically Git works by encoding some codes, alphanumeric hexadecimal codes in your source files, and it lets the Git client, which is the ruler of this local Git repository, know that some files are now in what's called the staging area. And then you do another command, which is git commit, and that makes those files now to be in a named committed level. And then finally you do git push, and that kicks it up to the cloud, or you do git pull, and that pulls it from cloud down to locally, and that can also create another named commit level. So this is probably a simple enough visualization for right now, and if we find some better stuff, we'll share it. Once again, love to see that. But for right now, I'm just going to kick this out so we can move on and do our lab. Now, these are very key things to remember here. Your files are unstaged until you do git add. Why am I emphasizing that? Because I've seen students do git commit, and then they act shocked. They go, oh, my file is not up in the GitHub cloud. Okay, well, did you do git add to get it into the staging area? Oh, no, I forgot. Okay, so first, and you might have files in local you don't want to kick up there. For example, in the Node.js class, when we're working with Google Maps APIs, you don't want to put an API in the cloud, even if it's something that's free that you're not paying through your credit card, because there are people out there who write programs that troll through GitHubs to steal API keys, and God forbid if it's an AWS, Amazon Web Services, and you're maybe paying a certain amount of money for each call. So the recommended procedure is in your JavaScript code, you use what's called an environment variable. You say, go to this local file and get my API. And then you put your secret information, your credentials, in some sort of a local file called credentials.txt or something, and you put that file in git ignores, so that will never get pushed up to the server. So if somebody sees your code, all they're going to see is that the APIs are being referenced from a file which is not available to them. So anyway, that would be another example. You don't necessarily want to commit all your files, is what I'm saying. But you could do git add star. I probably don't see it there, but there's a little dot there. Git add dot, and then that goes to staging.
I
And
sent you.
who did? Oh, I'll look at it during the break. Thank you so much. That's great. So then you, if you want to make your file to a commit level, and you're given a name. Now we call that named commit level because you could say git commit, whatever the date, this and that, and you should make those meaningful if you're working in a professional IT environment, because it's probably going to be under a project management situation, and the project manager is going to periodically go and audit your work and see who's been doing what each day, and they know from the committed from the names of the committed Git levels who's been doing what, and if you need to roll back to a previous level or something. All right, so let's get this going, then we'll take a break in a couple of minutes, but we're almost there now. Seriously, am I imagining something, or is there some kind of a radio or something over there? Maybe I'm imagining it. All right, so that's what we got going on there. Now let's go and do this. So I'm going to say commit changes, and that's my named level, right? So I also get the date timestamp, but you would probably, if you were really doing this at work, you could summarize what you did. I updated the database connection credentials. I refactored the code to do whatever. I implemented the fix for defect 123, whatever you put it there. Now there's multiple branches here. We're only going to be working with the main branch. You could have multiple branches. For example, suppose I have a product I'm supporting in 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish. I would have the one basic code base on main, which is the basic engine of the application, and then I could have my national language files, or maybe I'm supporting database 2 and MySQL or something. I could have the driver files for various databases in separate branches. So commit. Now here we have some basic code there. So the next step we're going to do now is get our... So first of all, I'm in one file now. So I'm going to go here back to my main repository view. And I'm going to go here. Look, please pay attention. Code, GitHub command line interface. There. This is our GH. That does it all for you. So copy that. Now I'm putting my I thought I did, didn't I? Where was I keeping track of this stuff? Because I know after the break I won't remember what I did. Yeah, I'm putting my details in here. You don't have to do that. It's just because it's less stuff. Oh yeah, here's where I put it. So now you're going to do git clone, and you do that locally, of course. And to remind everybody where we got that from, go to be in your main, like not in any file, right? Not in one file, but be in the main view of your repository, and then code GitHub CLI and grab that. And let's see if I can capture that without it jumping away. Yeah, I guess I can. Okay, cool. Right, so be in your main repository view, and then go to here, and then click this drop down arrow and go to there. GitHub is actually a very flexible and powerful tool. I know instructors, they keep all of their materials, right? All of their instructional materials in their GitHub, and that's how they share it out with students. I'd like to do that. I mean, it's a little bit of work initially to set it up, but the point is it's quite a powerful tool. All right, so let's just make our local Git clone, and then we will, what will we do? Yeah, then we'll go and take a little break. So now open a command prompt. So on your local premises file system, make a command prompt. And then do this. Oops, not that. Do this. And I'm going to call my prompt by the same name as my repo. I don't have to. It's just, I don't know, to me it kind of makes sense. You know, because if you've got a bunch of stuff going on, you either need to keep track of it in an Excel sheet, or you just have to have a good naming convention, or ideally both. So now I'm going to make a directory. So that's why we did all that work for a couple of weeks with the Pokemon Gym. We got a lot of practice working with basic directory commands. So I'm going to cd to root, and I'm going to say mkdir, control V to paste in my file name. mkdir, yes, it is a command. What are you saying? What's wrong with me today? mkdir, I'll just do md for make directory. What the? Because there was a slash in front of it. I was really worried for a minute. Thought I was losing what little bit of my mind I had left. Now cd into that directory. And now what's the next thing we do? Who's paying attention? Not you, because I know you're paying attention. Somebody who's not you, tell me what's the next thing we do. We do clone command. Oh, actually, at some point, and I could probably do it now as well as later, I should do my git. Now, in my case, it worked without having to do git auth, because I did this yesterday. It's already cached in my credentials. Depending if you've not done this before, or at least recently, you might get an instruction that you have to authenticate with your PAT. So I'm going to do git auth login, or is it git login auth? It's one of them. Oh, no, sorry, it's just git auth. It's just git auth. Jesus, Peter, pay attention to what you're doing. Git auth. Authenticate. Oh, gh auth. Yeah. So git auth login. Sorry, that was it. I think I was putting git before there or something. Yes, look. Pay attention just for 2 minutes. Give me your attention. I want to synchronize to GitHub. Now, why they have the option of other, remember what I said, a lot of companies set up their own internal GitHub server, privacy, security, and all that. We're just going to the public one right now. And we're going to be using HTTPS, which works with PAT. Secure Shell, that is a mess. I mean, it's actually a very secure way to do it. I don't think it's anything. That's a holdover from the old days. I don't think it's any better than PAT. But to work with SSH, you have to set up public key, private key encryption, and so on. As my daughter Ashley says, ain't nobody got time for that. So just keep it at HTTPS. I pressed enter. You want to authenticate with your GitHub creds. I've never actually tried to say no to see what my other option would be. Maybe you can do that and let me know. But I'll say yeah. And now log in with a web browser. Again, I'm not totally sure how that works, but I'm going to choose option, paste an authentication token. And now I have to go and get my authentication token. So I'm going to do that. Okay, guys, pay attention. So your personal authentication token is going to look like this. So you can copy that and then go to your window, and then we're going to do Control V, or depending, in some version of the command terminal, Control V doesn't work, and in that case you can probably click on the File tab, and there should be an edit paste here. This, I don't have it in this case, but anyway, my Control V worked. So now I will press Enter. Configuring Git protocol. Good. Logged in as Professor Brown Bear. You're already logged into this account. Great. I'll drop a screenshot of that. All right, it's 9:20. Let's give it a break till 9:40 and then kick it up, resume it. So by now you should be here. And if I do dir, what happens? I have a subdirectory, which is the name of my GitHub repository right there. And if I cd into that subdirectory, I have all of my files, which is actually just README and license. So after the break, we're going to make a modification to README, and then we're going to do git push. Observe that change is now up in cloud, and then we're going to hook ourselves up with a git action, and that's basically going to be it. All right, guys, don't take your break. Resume at 9:25. Okay, 9:45. Get some coffee or something to spark up your brain cells. So this is in the lab book attached to your news announcement that I just made. This is the git action. We're going to make a file. We're going to make a directory in local called .github/workflows. In that directory, we're going to make a file which has extension of YML. Our file is going to contain some code. and then we're gonna push that up to cloud, and then your Git Actions installed, and then when you make a Git commit, in this case, that could be other things as well, you're gonna observe that action running, you're gonna grab a screenshot of that, that's gonna be your assignment 4. I mean, it sounds simple in a sense, but on the other hand, it's also something that sits on top of a large workflow of other things we've done, so I think it's kind of reasonable for an assignment. Does anybody think this is too simple? Would you like me to make it harder? Because I run this like a democracy. Oh, she says make it harder.
No.
Well, go and consult with your classmates. I'll take a vote after the break.
ये मूलक काय आहे नाही रिॲक्शन तर नाही रिॲक्शन
त्यो एकदमै उयोवाला हो कि गेस गर्छ क्या यसले त्यो इक्वेसनवाला होइन क्या गेसवाला हो यो हावा हो क्या यो हावा क्या हावा गर्ने भने यो भयो यो गर
एउटा बोला म यो गर्छु मलाई यो नगरिकन मार
लास्ट हावा ओइ मनी अगर ओइ
लाइटर चाहिँ भाइ जाडो हो
छ नि अभियसली
obviously रे
सरी सर हजुरको
गरेन मैले सोल्युसन हेरेँ
इक्वेसनबाट निकाल्नु न त अब मुला इन्डा
इक्वेसनबाट निकाल्नको लागि त कुनै छ
होइन सपोज गर्ने let it be x algebra equal to हाम्रो फुलका एजको प्रोडक्ट चाहिँ सपोज इक्वल्स टु x equal to y
खाने
कान्छो z त्यसको सबैको प्रोडक्ट चाहिँ x
फोन लिङ्किङ वाला त्यो रिङटोन जानु भयो
उस हेरे हौ के अरे त्यो फिल्म वाइट
सुनेको छु
मतलब कौन है
तो सो गए थे असाइनमेंट
ये है क्या दीदी के साथ ज्यादा स्कैम हुआ है मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है ओ भाई नेक्स्ट लेवल क्या सच में ओ भाई इतना डिफरेंस तो ऐसा क्यों है
All right, guys, let's pick it up. Now the next thing we're going to do is make our YAML file, and the YAML file is going to be what works the magic. So let's do that together now. All these instructions are presented in your workbook, right? So just go and refer to that later as necessary. So look, now normally I advocate Visual Studio Code for everything, except as we can see here, we have to make a directory with a dot in front of it. And a dot has a very special meaning in terms of DOS. So I'm just going to use the maybe something like Sublime or whatever, or Notepad or whatever. But we're going to do this. MK, and get rid of the -P. Actually, I'm not sure what that's for. I got this from the documentation on GitHub, and they advocated that, but I just skip the P, right? Just get rid of that. It doesn't do anything. So work with me now. Go back to your command prompt. Here we are, and let's follow this instruction. mkdir dot GitHub. And make sure you're in your, not your root directory you made at the beginning, but after you did git clone, you got a second directory, which was the name of the repo, mkdir dot GitHub. Now cd into that, cd dot GitHub. Oh, GitHub, not GitHub. All right, so do that. There we are. Now the next thing we need to do now is make a file in here following our lab instructions. So if you go down a little bit, you're going to find this. This is in the lab book, which I kicked out, Unified Lab Work Instructions. That is in the news forum item that I posted at the beginning. So the entry point of this learning activity is to automate testing with Git Actions. Now you don't have to do testing if you can get it working, and some students have already gotten it working. But just to simplify things, now that we're in the last little stretch here, it's enough to just make and observe the operation of a Git action. You do not need to connect your Git testing to it, totally optional. You can get it going, cool. You don't get it going, you won't lose any marks. Now we need to make some file, and it doesn't matter too much what it's called. So it's going to be called, in our case, test.yml. So I'm going to make now touch is actually a thing from Linux. Touch doesn't exist in the Windows environment. However, that just makes a file. I'm just going to use Notepad to make a file that does the job. So I'm going to make a file called test.yml. Notepad test.yml. You want to create it? Sure. Now in here we put our YAML code. And again, it might be in a more advanced course to talk about what all of these things mean. We did talk about it earlier, that basically the way a YAML file works is you specify the name of whatever your action is, and then on. So when's it going to happen? Well, whenever I do a push to my main branches. And what jobs am I going to run? Just copy and paste it, right? We're going to, if you want, if you read my book, I talk in more detail how this works. But for right now, it's good enough to just copy and paste this code from, let me put page numbers in. Oh, actually, yeah, does this have insert? Page numbers. Insert. Yeah, so we're on page 5 right now. Actually, no, your YAML code is on, your YAML code is on page 5. Yeah, if you refresh it or something, you'll see it, the page numbers there. So we did this. Now add the workflow file and into your test.yaml file, and it actually doesn't matter what you call it because you're going to see all of your actions there in the panel we're about to get to, but if you want to stay with the lab instructions, call it test.yml. Add the following content. So just copy all the way down to the bottom. And paste that into your YAML file. So Control V paste. There it is. Now this is a unstaged file, so we need to do our famous git add to get that kicked in there. So save and close. So now we are on the bottom of page 6. Commit and push the workflow, git add, and here they specify drilling into the exact file you want to add. So I'm just going to follow that, although you could do git add dot. That would do the same thing. So Control V. Actually, be careful. Just like this was one of the reasons we drilled into the Pokemon Gym application and we built it up to give you some training about the importance of remembering which directory to work in. So if I do cd ... and I step up one directory level now, from this directory level, this file .github is in a file directory level underneath where we're issuing the command. So it'll drill into .github, workflows, and test.yaml. Press enter. Yeah, now one thing to bear in mind here is that dot, especially in Windows, because a lot of this stuff was intended to run on a Unix machine, that dot in the path name, that really messes up Windows, but I believe it'll be good enough if we just do git add dot. That means add everything, and then it'll get those directories and those files. So git add period, which is the wildcard for everything. That's all done now. So if I type git status, your branch is up to date with org main, changes to be committed, right? So it's telling us there's a new file there. That is telling us that file has not yet been committed. So how do we commit? Well, we use git commit. So git commit, and then your message pushing test.yaml. Now it's saying one file changed, 18 insertions because there were 18 lines in the file, and that file has now been created where? In the staging area of our local repo. Your branch is ahead of main, main being controlled by the server because we have not yet done what? What do I do next? Not you, anybody else? Git push. So do git push. And there it's just reporting what it did. Once again, all of that, so it's saying where it pushed it to, my repo name. And all of these commands are right there. When you want to go and do it again by yourself, just go and do it. So we did git commit, message, git push. Now in our case, I don't have index.js. I have readme, so I'll just do that. First of all, let's go to the cloud and observe your changes now visible there. I'm just capturing this in our summary of steps up at the top. Actually, no, I'll just keep it down. You can finish that list by yourself. I want to get this done because I want to give you the last half hour or so in class to just do this and get it finished with. Now, in terms of your formally written up instructions for assignment 4 and a project, I will do that probably later today or tomorrow morning at the latest. So you'll have the written instructions, but you already know what to do. So we've talked about it here. So I'll just say now. So now that we've pushed changes to cloud, now view GitHub repo, view your repo in the cloud to see that the change is there. All right, so do that. You might need to press refresh to refresh the web page for that to kick into effect. And look, I now have something I did not have before, .git. And there's my test YAML. That is now here because I did git push. So just assure yourself that that happened with you. All right, so now let's make a little change. Let's do this both ways now. So I'm going to go and just once more, I will redundantly, I don't have to, but it's a good practice to make sure that your stuff stays together. You don't want to be the team member who did a commit of code that did not agree with everybody else's code and make a compile failure. They'll make fun of you and they'll point at you and laugh, so don't let that happen. So always do git pull before you do git pull, compile, and then once you're sure you're not making problem with other people's code, then do git push. So let's make a change now with our README file, for example. I'll just use Notepad as my editor. And now up here at the top, I'll say this change was made on local client. At 10:06 a.m. Save. And close. Let's do get status. Change is not staged for commit, so we have to do get add to get that change in there. So I'll do get add star. Get status. Your branch is up to date, cool. So I'm now safe to do get, what's my command? Push. Everything is up to date, get status. Branch is up to date. Let's go to cloud. Refresh your web page. View your README. Interesting. I'm not observing my change here. All right, well, let's make a change here. I'll say edit. I'll say this change was made in cloud. At 10:08 a.m. Save a commit. Oh, you know why I'm not seeing the change here? What did I forget? It's your fault. You should have reminded me. I didn't do a commit. I didn't do a commit on that other change. In fact, this would be a horrible thing to do now because I will now have made a conflict. Why? Because I forgot to do get commit. That's why I'm not seeing my change here. Let's go back and fix that. So I'll do get commit. I'm just pressing the up arrow key to repeat previous commands. Testing, update of testing, visibility on cloud of locally changed file. So now the file is changed. Do I need to do get add again? Well, I could. It wouldn't hurt anything. I don't need to. Get add is to get it into staging, which it's already there. Nothing to commit, working tree clean. All right, let's do a git push again. The only way to learn this stuff is just do it a bunch of times. Writing 3 objects. Yeah, so it's confirming that it did do that update. Let's go to the cloud again. Now here, because I have a change which has not been committed, I'm going to cancel out because I don't want that change to kick into effect. That would make a conflict. You've unsaved changes. Yes, please discard them. Refresh. Oh, you see now it's follow the progress bar up there. Reload. README. Yes, do you see now that I did get add, get commit, that's my change which I made there. Now I can safely say this change was made on the cloud. At 10 a.m. Commit. And that's all you do here because your GitHub server doesn't have a staging area, right? Only your local GitHub client does. so I don't really have a way or a need to do git add or something. I've already done git commit. Now let's go back to local. What am I going to do now? Git pull. So it's saying that readme now has one more line. That's what you expect. I'm going to use the DOS command type, readme.md. This change was made on GitHub at 10:10. Does everybody now observe that I can make changes in either cloud or local and I can sync them together? That's not specifically a CI/CD skill. It's a GitHub skill, but it is how the teams are going to work in terms of keeping, like, every team member keeps their code current in the cloud server. And now we're going to go to the money shot. Now we're going to go to the Git action. So everybody join me. And let's go back to our server. And you see here we have a panel called Actions. We also have something called issues. If I had another week with you, we would go into Git issues, but basically the way the workflow would work is that some member of the team, maybe the information architect or the business analyst, if there was something wrong, they would open an issue and assign it to a team member. The team member would address that issue and make a Git action to resolve it. But for right now, this is how your CI/CD happens. So go there. These are all of the workflows you can trigger to your action, and you can also make them by yourself. You can also go and get other workflows, right? There's websites where people share them out and stuff. So take a couple of seconds to mess around there. Click on some of those panels and take a look. I'll give a couple of seconds if anybody needs to get caught up to where we are. By the way, there's your updated assignment 4. I will kick that out as a separate document, and I'll put it in an assignment box later. But if you want to see it, that's where it is. Just basically says to do what we've done here and document it, screenshot it, use Figma or something to explain the flow. So make sure you're caught up to here. You've done all of that. You're observing your YAML file and your updated README file in the cloud. All right, now that I've gone getting the network off, because this stuff is very sensitive to a good network, let's go back and double check. I've just dumped out a few troubleshooting instructions as well. So if you're not observing the Git action panel, here's some stuff you can do. Because I did this just yesterday. It worked fine the first time, and I think today it's just because the network is. I think on Friday morning, people in the office like sit and watch YouTube videos or something. I don't know what's happening, but the network really slows down.
Do people like find peace of mind even if they're on like 100K per year? Are they happy?
No human beings are ever happy. If you're happy, there's something wrong with you. Because as soon as you get there, then you look at people who are making $250 and you're going, why don't I have that? Like people in North America have food and, clean water and all that, and they just walk around whining about all the shit they don't have. So, no, nobody's ever going to be happy. Deal with it. All right, I'm going to do some problem determination myself, and maybe it worked for all of you, which is great. Maybe you got some problems, which, if you're getting problems right when you're working on it, just email, I'll fix you up. But I know this exact stuff was working yesterday, and I know what's happening now. So if you're not observing the result, ensure that you're doing the push event first. So the push event, which should trigger it, make sure it's there. So make a small change. All right, let's make another change to our file. Change to file to trigger Git action. All right, now we're going to do git add to get our updated file into staging. Git add star. Now git commit. Now you don't have to do jest, so this is just like any action flow you can come up with. Git commit -m trigger git action. One file changed, cool. Git push origin main. Oh, you know what? I think before I did git push, I don't think I put the git push origin main. That could have been the issue. All right. So you can do git log if you want to see a update of all the stuff you did.
Can you show me how you can go to the history and take that version, the previous version?
Yes, but not now. I have another 30 minutes. Remind me, because next week we have a 1-hour test. We have a 3-hour class. I'll give you a half an hour break before the. As you know, during the test, you cannot leave the room and come back. So going to the washroom before the test would be a good idea. Also, you need to bring your student ID cards. If for any reason you don't have it, I have a little DNA testing kit. Although, to be honest, those needles haven't been replaced in a couple of years. They're kind of rusty. I can just take a drop of blood for DNA testing, but I would recommend just bringing your student card. It's less painful. So anyway, the point I'm making, I can, if you have any questions like that, email me. We can, have a little hour before our test to cover off. I can, but not at the minute. It's a very good question, though. I'd like to help you with that. Now, I was saying git push origin main. I think I already did that, in fact. Everything is up to date. Nice. All right. Check the Actions tab. Navigate to Actions tab. Look for the workflow of whatever you've called it. If no workflow appears, you're pushing to the main branch. Your syntax is correct. I'm not quite sure. I just copied that out of the instructor's repository. But anyway, let's go and see what's happening here. So to make sure that I'm getting the most up to date, I just closed my tab. I'm going to open a new tab now to make sure it's pulling all the latest stuff. Sometimes stuff gets cached in your browser. So find your repo. So you can go to your profile picture and show repos. Your repos right there. Where? There. There's my repo right there. Updated 2 minutes ago. Cool. There's my change that I just made. Which file did I change? README? Because I'm not seeing the update in README. No, yeah, I did make a change. Change to trigger Git action. Oh yeah, it was up there. It was small. Do you mind to close? Hello, madam, Mrs. Close the door, please. Yeah, the change is up there. It was just small, so I didn't notice it. All right, let's carry on. So let's check our Actions tab. Okay, just keep working by yourself. Okay, so I found the problem and it's actually your fault. I'm going to blame you. Why not? It's never the boss's fault. They just find some underling to blame. What is different here comparing to what it should be? And if you catch that, I'll give you a special prize. What did I do wrong?
You didn't pull before you push?
Well, no, not more to the point. It has to be in GitHub, and it has to be in a directory called Workflows.
I think it's the file.
Workflows. No, it's work. I didn't put it in a file in a directory called Workflows, even though it said in the instructions, because I was talking and not paying attention to what I should have been doing. So why not? I'm going to blame you for it, sure. So that does need, but it's actually pretty good because now you'll never forget that because you saw the problem. It needs to be in a directory of git ignore called Workflows, right there. So .github workflows test YAML. All right, so let's do that. Let's go and fix that up. So now go back to your command prompt, and in .github, make a directory called workflows. So cd.github. See, if I press the tab key to auto-complete, oh yeah, it does work now. I thought it wasn't working before. mkdir workflows. And then just recreate that file. Now, because I think I'm that good, and maybe I am, let's see if I can make this work. So move C colon f24 Friday. I'm just going to my directory path. And then again, it's another thing of the same directory. So move that directory, dot. Now, actually, I don't think that'll work because the dot in that path is going to kind of break my DOS stuff. But if it were to work, I could say .github, and then I have my YAML file, so I can't remember exactly what I called it. So I'll just say star.yaml. Move that to where? Oh, it's PowerShell. This one doesn't have the. I'll just do Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Shit, I erased it after all. Anyway, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to go and recreate the file. CD workflows, and now Notepad test.yaml, and I'll go back to the the lab to get the proper code. YAML. There we go. It's on page 7. Oh, by the way, anybody here program Python? If you do, you're familiar with the importance of indentation. Your YAML file similarly will break if you don't observe proper indentation. So yeah, it does that. So hopefully my indentation is going to be preserved. It looks like it, yeah. So for example, if your push is right over there in the left margin, that would be enough to break it. So now within your workflows directory, save, and what do we do next? Come on, guys, you got to know this stuff. I got to get it into staging with git add, so I'll say git add dot, and then I'll say git commit -m fixed directory path of my YAML file. So when I hit, by the way, some of these could be test questions next week. What happens when I use git commit? I make a named commit level, which is named according to your comment. Good. Now what's the next thing I do?
Push.
Thank you. What's the next thing I do? Go to the cloud to make sure the change is there. Refresh. Yeah, that was making me crazy. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. .github workflows. YAML. And YAML is correctly, it has indentation. Now, let's make any change just to push a commit. So now let's go back to our directory here. I'll say notepad, readme, another change to readme. Now that YAML is in correct workflows directory. Right, it was a little bit of an irritation, and I didn't make, sometimes I do make mistakes on purpose to just make a point. That was a genuine me screwing up. However, now hopefully you're never again going to forget the importance of the workflows directory. All right, so save. And, oops, I said save all. So just save your README file. Save. Oh yeah, sorry, I was supposed to make a change to README, not save it. So, oh yeah, no, I actually did that. I said another change, so I have made a change. Sorry guys, I didn't sleep enough last night. Now I'm going to do git add, git commit, test, git action operation. Now git push origin main. Git status. Cool. Everything is hopefully good. Now I should observe the effect of my git action now that I've did a git push. A commit. I did a commit. So go and refresh your GitHub. Oh, good. That's what I want to, that's your assignment 4, plus explanations and instructions to demonstrate some clarity of thought leadership. However, that is what happens. And now what I could do next, sadly we're out of time. If we had another couple of weeks, we're all set now. We could do more stuff. But I do know that other students have taken the written instructions and they have set up the jest testing and gotten it to run. I know because they've showed me their work. So if you can do that, because you're kicking this out onto LinkedIn, and you want, if you want, it's kind of a job, right? You want a little bit of showcasing for yourself. But if you just do that, that's really enough. Just for our 14-week introductory course. At the beginning, you know, we learned a lot, right? We got up and going in terms of JavaScript. We didn't really, you guys didn't have a programming language that really worked with this, so we learned a lot of the basics. So yeah, I would say you've definitely gotten the very good value out of this course. So that is what happens when you when an action is triggered on some event. All right, guys, it's now 10:50. You have the remaining 10 minutes of class to work on getting your assignment done. I don't have anything else to talk about right now. I've said it all. So just go and do some work. I believe you could actually do assignment 4 pretty much right now. Maybe you want to dress it up a little bit, but I believe it's substantially finished. I will later on, well, tonight I'm teaching, but tomorrow morning I'll just push assignment 4 and project instructions update into Moodle, and I'll send you an email to tell you it's there. But hopefully after today you're basically pretty okay with this. Yes, I will kick the screen. In fact, I'll save it and upload it right now.